Hey everybody, it's your old buddy the Dreamer. Welcome to Sunday's edition of Hanging with the Dreamer, featuring Mr. Ed Roman. And before that we talk to Mr. Roman, he has given us his time this morning, and he is wonderful enough to do so. So this will be a very short but very in-depth and hopefully very meaningful interview. Um, Also, I just want to say that for anybody who wants to book any time with me, the Dreamer, my January schedule is all filled up. I am taking bookings for February now, and all information on how to book with me so that you too could be a guest at Dreamland Studios and talking to me, the Dreamer, live on Hanging with the Dreamer. All information will be in the description box below. So, without further ado, it is my pleasure, I am blessed, and it is my honor to talk to Mr. Ed Roman. How are you, Ed? And welcome to Dreamland Studios.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to be talking to the Dreamer.
So tell me, let's just thank you. Thank you very much. Let's get right into it. Your music has been on heavy rotation for actually on over 100 terrestrial radio stations and over 600 radio stations. Let's talk about that adventure. Let's talk about the road that led and the backstory to that.
Well, I mean, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream, right? I had to say that because we're on the show, but I sometimes the river is the stream is peaceful, and sometimes it's raging, and that's the same thing with life for me. I always find that there's these ups and downs, and humans are sort of barometric emotional people, and we're going through these continual changes. For me, the change of becoming an independent artist, as a solo artist, with having a plethora of musicians to play live and to record with, of course, has given me a gateway to being able to branch out into a lot of different kinds of styles of music. And as a result, that's given me headway into a lot of different kinds of radio stations. It's not just necessarily one genre of music that I sort of play and perform. Now, ironically, as a dreamer, I've always sort of been like, music to me is a form of expression. Yeah. And as I said before, we're going through all these different changes. It's not always the same. We may be in a very intense mood, and other times we may be in a more somber mood. But still, art reflects those sort of moments as to who we are. Yeah. That then has given me a wider writing palette. And I like that. I like that experience for me as a person because it keeps things fresh. I'm not always worried about thinking I have to write in this sort of space. And I'm always writing different things. I'm never also really worried because I am a dreamer as well too. I'm thinking about how the feeling is making me see things in my imagination. It starts to like almost ask me questions in terms of lyrical ideas or melodic ideas. And I start to realize in the weirdest of ways, I'm more of a receptor to a lot of things that are going on a regular basis, just like we all are. We're all feeling and reacting to certain things that we see and read. With the music and having such a wide variety of stuff, people are like, well, how do you put this into a category? Like, it was hard for many years to figure out who and what I was. I knew who I was because I just wanted to write and perform it and tell these stories. But now it's an advantage to me in that regard, because as I said, it gives me those areas and that maybe a certain band wouldn't head into as a result of only playing a certain genre. And bands sort of grow and develop over time. Sometimes they can have intense points in their career in terms of what they're writing and how they're writing. And other times it's sort of mellowed out a little bit like that. But the other big thing a long time ago, I remember somebody said to me was, look, you can work hard, you know, what you do, and that's good, but and spend time working at what you do. But at the same time, it's that hard work and persistence that gets you there. Remember, don't look for the big payout. Don't look for the big da 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 da, or I wrote the tune. You know, music and art never ends. It's like science. You just never stop thinking about its progression, and what changes in it is always going through some vacillation. So for me, it's the same thing. I then have this wonderful opportunity to be on so many different kinds of shows and radio stations. So when you see those kinds of numbers, it was the result of some struggle. Trying to create my own territory. People would even say to me, like, what do you call this? And I'm like, well, I call it kitchen sink. It's a little bit of everything in there, from, you know, your forks, knives, and spoons, and plates, and whatever they are. You know, I'm washing things up. and I kind of like that, even about other artists in the past that I fell in love with, were always sort of pushing their own, you know, boundaries outside of where they originally were. And you know, people maybe in some cases would criticize. I mean, look at Dylan. When Dylan went electric, and people like booed him on the stage when he had the, you know, a band behind him. Ironically, it was the band, you know. But those transformations can be difficult. Musicians are doing it to themselves every day in many ways. I remember Carlos Santana even saying something similar, that they're going through this continual emotional process of cathartically releasing this information. And it's spiritual. It's connected to your dreamlike state, which to me is sort of the subconscious, and all those things that are sort of in that, all those file cabinets back there, from things from our childhood, you know, our collective family memory, the collective memory of everything that you kind of know to this very point. It all kind of starts to show itself in these ways when a bigger question is being asked. And it is a spiritual quest. And for me, then the struggle is no longer there when I behave and live in that vibration, that frequency of not worrying so much and just releasing over and over again. It means I'm doing something every day. It means I'm not worried or getting, you know, caught in a quagmire of some cogmill of worrying about why things aren't connecting the right way. And maybe there's something I'm not looking at myself then in a bigger part of the picture, or when it comes to, you know, the ego, like, oh, this is a good song, why doesn't somebody like it, or whatever. Like, I like this. I know this sounds kind of weird, man, but I've kind of learned not to care so much about what people think. I care more about how I feel when I've written the number or when I'm performing it. And that way I feel that if there is a connection from somebody, that when they hear the music, it's earnest for them because it came from an earnest point inside of me. So I mean, I'm lucky. And the other thing is too, like, I worked intimately with Michael Stover, my manager in Pittsburgh. He's outside of Pittsburgh, and nothing wrong with Pittsburgh. But he's been a great help because he believes in the music. He believes in what his artists are doing. And he also has that sort of he's a musician himself. He knows what it's like to think, you know, artistically about things, just like yourself. And that means that placing people for the right reasons in the right places happens so often. And it's also been, you know, hard work and persistence, you know, almost a decade of really pushing to where I am today. And it feels good. It feels like, you know, it's worth the efforts or the hardships, or, you know, so when things weren't working right, you know. But again, I've kind of learned to forget about that and just sort of enjoy the ride, because for a long time I wasn't. I was really caught up in the mechanism of the worry of the industry, and that can be really unhealthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes when we lose perspective. And because of, whatever it may be, some to do what we do, have to gain respect, have to gain perspective back, have to gain, that's the beautiful thing about being a creator, is that when I know that when I regain my perspective, regain my focus, regain my creative center, that's when the magic happens.
Well,
And
I don't know if it was a slip of the tongue, but you said honesty, like, and that's kind of that part of it is that relinquishment of the self in the moment when it's happening, because as you said, then you feel you're most connected. It's like, yes, of course, or yes, there's an admittal, or yes, there's a realization, or and it's very, it's hard to describe, it's humbling.
big time, big time, big time humbling. I shake my head every day and I'm just like, wow, I get to do what I do every single day of my life. And it's very humbling, you know.
Well, and I mean, and the other thing is too is that acclamation is another strange thing for me, because as much as I like the gratification of seeing somebody enjoy something, like I do when I make a meal or share an anecdote or something that brings a smile to somebody's face, or maybe we both end up thinking a little bit differently because of a good conversation we had. I'm also I'm like you said, with the humbling factor. I sometimes have a problem with like, as I said, acclamation or people giving you awards for certain things. I understand that they're part of a trail of achievements that's important to recognize for the work that you do, but still at the same time, fame and ego have always been a weird thing for me in the music industry, because I've met some people, without naming names, that have like really turned me off because of their attitude. And it's not something that was like they're having a bad day. It's something else. It's like more persona is bigger than me, so don't get too close to me in any kind of circumstance, no matter what. And other people that are, in my mind, unbelievable musical prowess, that have been performers, writers, composers, and players for decades, have the ability to talk with you in an alleyway after a gig and talk about something that means something to you in some way, or give you a hug, or just take that little bit of time, and then like there is none of that for them. And I learned that at a very young age, because a lot of the people that I loved to listen to musically, later hearing interviews or reading about them and things that they said in magazine articles or shows that they were on, I went further into why I love them so much, because of this sort of philosophical aspect to who they were in terms of what they did. It wasn't just about look at my pants, my great hair. It was they carried a sense of substance with them, and that it reflected who they were in their writing. So again, with acclamation, like people will say to me, there's things that you've done, or I'm awards that I've received, or whatever it might be. And I mean, like this is what made me think of it, is that I'm happy to be able to, that's my greatest reward. I'm happy to be able to do what I do every day, to be able to play, to perform, to write, to experience life in an artistic way. And it has given me vehicles into other things in my life that I do, that I realize have enriched me like I garden a lot. I grow a lot of food, and I like growing it. And I always think that like food and growing food in a garden is almost like writing a song. You know, like you get the seed, which is an idea that comes to you, and you nurture it along. You work on ideas, lyrical concepts, whatever they may be, arrangements. That's like, you know, hoeing and weeding and making sure the plant's well looked after, and then it's, you know, you start feeling the feelings coming off of it, which is like the fruit. You know, it starts to bear fruit in this way. You start to share it with people, you start gigging, you start putting it out there, and it's all as a result of your, as you're tending it, you're looking after it in this sort of nurturing kind of way, and you may not even realize that you're doing it, but as I say, it still has that sort of attenuation to being similar in that way. And I mean, you know, a pepper tastes different than a song sounds, but that's obvious. What more is to do is with the practice of it. And the other thing is the discipline of knowing that if I don't react, that it doesn't grow itself. I can think of an idea and I can maybe, you know, it can be a passing thought, but if I don't react on it, pick up the book and start scribbling and doing whatever I'm doing and reacting to it, then, you know, it doesn't plant itself. It doesn't water itself. It doesn't weed itself. It doesn't, but see, like I said before, I'm working on so many different things that my garden has got little projects in it all the time. I'm always cultivating, and I'm always rotating my crop, and I'm always cross-pollinating, and I'm always, you know, doing all those things, right? So that way it's always fresh and always creates a healthier garden in my mind for everything that I do. Even the way I cook food, the way I would just do my laundry, something as arbitrary as that, or the kind of conversations that you might have with people, the way you drive, anything. It could be anything, right? It's always this extension. So it almost is like meditative in that regard. And again, your statement is coming true to form because you feel attuned. You're in the right space. You're experiencing it for the right reasons. You're interacting with it, just like when you go and you think, you know, put your head down at night and you go, man, what a great day, or whatever it was that happened. And you start thinking about, well, why? Why was it all? You could say that it's all these little things that occurred, but it's really not that. It is that on a mechanical level, but what made it happen is you and the overall presence and energy that you carried with you over the course of that day. From how you interacted to somebody at the grocery store to how you talked to somebody on the telephone that night. And it can be difficult because, like I said, as human beings, we're all emotional barometers. We all have good days and bad days. We all fluctuate in and out of these frequencies on a regular basis, just like music. Music is a vibratory, emotional expression.
Well,
And we too are the very same things.
absolutely. And you know something really? I I heard Solierna, the lead vocalist for Godsmack. He said in a like a conservatory, and Godsmack was donating some time for a nonprofit in Boston, where they're from, Boston, Massachusetts, and the lead singer Solierna came out and started the whole thing, and he said music is a gift, and it must never ever be taken for granted. And I thought about those words, and I thought, yeah, that's it, because to do what we do is never, ever to be taken for granted, because it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a gift. Hey, I'm nobody special. I'm just a mere mortal man. But I happen to love creating, and in the process, I've managed to find that connecting spirit, or actually, I should say that connecting spirit found me, and every day, little things happen, little little glimpses of hope pop up in a private message on Facebook, a text, little, there's little shades and little shimmers of hope that kind of pop up very briefly. But one thing I've noticed, just like you were saying, when something hits you, when inspiration hits you, and you don't pick up the pen and paper and write down, it's not going to feed itself. It's not going to water itself. Well, I can't agree with that more. And because there have been so many thoughts, so many ideas I had that just came out of nowhere at the most inopportune time, and I didn't jump on it, and it left and never came back. And it never sticks around too long.
Listen, I'm bending over down here because I'm picking stuff up, because while I was talking to you, all this stuff, exactly because of what you were just saying. See, this is the back of an old Kleenex box.
Oh yeah.
Lyric idea. This is part of a brown rip-off sheet pad that I found somewhere. More lyric ideas. This is from the back of a Ritz box.
Yes.
More ideas.
Absolutely.
And so it's like when the idea strikes, people are like, oh, you're in your studio and you're working on stuff. It's like a laboratory and you have a set time that you're in there. It doesn't work that way.
No.
You have to react. You have to react, and you could pull over on the side of the road. You may forget to. You might be like, "Oh, I'm driving. I shouldn't pull." I'm in a highway, and done. It could go. It could slip away.
Oh, it slipped away. Yeah, in the blink of an eye, it's gone, and you're going, "Wait a minute. Now you're ready to react, and it's gone." And you're thinking to yourself, where'd it go? That was perfect. That was the answer to the problem I'm having. Where'd it go?
Yeah, or just the rhythmical aspect of what you were thinking. The word concepts don't totally line up the right way. It was like, yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking, but not exactly. And da 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 da. It happened. But you're right about the gift part of it, because, and why I'm saying this too is because it's really a gift to our future generations. Art is a testament to who we are in our living moment.
Yeah.
It has all of the hallmarks and connections of anthropology written all over it.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Yeah, when you think about it, we can now pull out a piece of music written hundreds of years ago, before recordings could be done, before people, if they were elaborate pieces, they couldn't commit them completely to memory unless they had learned the piece already. So here we're looking at a score of music that could be written, as I say, 100, 200 years ago. And it's a document of an emotional part of who we are, who we were. If I wasn't into music, man, I swear to God, I'd be in anthropology. I'd be an archaeologist, because I find that's also the pursuit inside of writing, is a part of not only the self-expression of who we are in the living moment, but it's tentacles that are tied to the past and the probabilities of its future. It sits in this amazing living now moment that can transcend decades ahead of itself, even before it gets there, and at the same time have a relationship to some feeling or a recollection or a mirror image of something that happens in the past.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have a lot to share with you on that at another time. What you just said right there lines up totally what I'm all about. And I'll have to send you a private message at another.
Sure, man.
The synergy is magic. I love it.
Great.
real quickly, I just wanted to ask you, do you have anybody that you would like to give a shout out to?
Well, all the ed heads and people that listen and support the music. I mean, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without like listenership and people, radio DJs and stations that are playing the music. They're always the first shout out because we do it together. That's the way I've always felt about it. I'm humbled again by people's support. Mike Stover, for sure, my manager, because we're going on almost a decade of working together, and we've
That's
really
amazing.
done some amazing things together. And a shout out just to everybody around the world saying peace, love, health, and happiness and understanding. In a beautiful way, I care about everybody, even my enemy. So,
Yeah, that is beautifully, eloquently said. Thank you, Ed.
yeah, man, my pleasure.
That is, I think that, you know, I've listened to your music. I put your music on and I close my eyes and I focus in on what you're saying. I'm thinking to myself, man, I feel like I'm listening to James Taylor,
Oh,
you know,
wow, man, thank you.
or Joe Cochran,
Wow,
or
wow, I'm blushing, man. Thank you.
you know that you are a very talented songwriter. And also, one thing I saw in your bio too is that you actually won an award for Best Upcoming Artist, Best Emerging Artist.
That's right, through Billboard. It was the new emerging artist. But there was also one through the Academia Society that was in the
Yeah,
US out of California.
2020. Yeah.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, like the awards and getting recognized and being recognized by guilds are so important as far as like your CV and that you're working in those communities and being recognized by people. And at the same time, I'm humbled again, but I'm my biggest reward is saying, look, I'm scribbling and writing in my studio, in my car. I'm writing these ideas. I'm working with people I love to work with. All of that is so like, you know, like it is a gift. Like you said, I feel so lucky being in the place that I am today. And I also recognize that there's been a lot of hard work and persistence, and I'm happy I stuck to my guns, as it were.
Well, yeah, keep going.
No,
Keep,
I'm not gonna stop till I'm pushing up daisies, man.
you know, keep going, keep pushing, keep striving to go to that next level in your creative vision. That's what it's all about. And hopefully somebody will be impacted in a positive way because of that.
Well, like I heard Robin Williams this morning. It's funny you say that. And it was in a little speech that he gave, and it said, why he was sort of like in a reflection as to why he was here, what he does, and why he does it. And he said, we're just here for a little time. We can choose to do good things and bad things, and if I've made a few people happy for a little while, then that's great. That's a wonderful thing to say.